Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Something to Complain About. This is A. I'm here with T. T, how's it going?
It's going well, eh? I don't know if I told you or not, but I actually tried a new dish a couple weeks ago and I ate it and I was like, where have you been my entire life? Baba Ganoush.
You did tell me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. And so I don't know why it took me so long to come across it
How did you try
and
it?
to
I mean,
order it.
did somebody, you were at a restaurant, it sounds like.
Well, I was going to a new restaurant with little T.
Hmm.
And I always kind of like to look, before I go to any restaurant, kind of look through the menu and get a feel for things. And um, I was like, I've never tried baba ganoush, and it might be because I live in Omaha.
It might be.
I don't recall, I don't recall seeing it on too many, like even on the in Greek restaurants, and I've been to other Mediterranean restaurants in town, and I don't recall ever seen it on the menu. So I had it. It was fantastic. And so I did what I do when you and I go to the Cajun restaurant. I just sat there with my bread and my dip. And that was my meal.
Yep.
So,
Had you ever gone to Ahmad?
mm, I don't think so. Oh, but that's Persian. Yeah, that would. No, and I've had Persian food before. Like my students used to bring food to class for parties and things. And for whatever reason, it has evaded me until now.
Feel like, I mean, I know Ahmad's closed, or I mean, at least it used to be in the old market. I believe it has maybe moved or closed. I know it's not in the old market anymore, but they definitely, that was one of my favorite places to go. My brother loved to go there every time
Mm,
he came to Omaha. But they had a fantastic baba ganoush. I haven't had
mm.
it in 20 years, so I'm not sure. I'm glad you loved it.
I did.
Is it something you could
But
try to
I
make at
mean,
home?
I I would try, but we already know that I am not very successful with eggplant. I have issues cooking eggplant.
Yeah, me too.
Um, I also I also officially have issues now cooking quinoa. Um, it I was making some last night and like I don't know, I just cannot master the art of cooking quinoa. And so I'm cooking it and all of a sudden like it's like little quinoa bombs just shooting out of the pot and just spraying all over the kitchen. Like it would bubble up and like there'd be a little quinoa with some water. But it was like inconsistent. And the dog got hit. I got hit. I tried to hurry up and cover the pot with the lid, and then it just like all over the lid. And I'm like, why is quinoa so difficult to make? I can make rice, I can make barley, I can do lentils, I can do pasta, I can do all these things, but I can do couscous, but quinoa is like this is going to be the death of me. I just cannot master the art of cooking it.
You got plenty of other things to choose from.
I know, but I love quinoa though. That's the problem.
I get it.
So
I haven't cooked it in a
I
long time.
was
I should try again and see how what kind of success I have with it.
yes. Tell me if you get like little individual little quinoa.
Rocket.
They're not seed, they're grains. Yeah,
Mhm.
little rockets just and spouting out. It was like the 4th of July in my kitchen. And
Times.
but I try. Charlie and I are sitting here going, what the hell? And then, of course, he caught on that it was food. So then he's like chasing the little quinoa rock
That's okay.
at my foot.
At least you have a cleanup crew.
Why do all of my attempts to make quinoa end in failure?
May,
Why?
maybe somebody who's listening can throw into the comments some advice if they are better at cooking quinoa, and maybe they can give you some pointers.
That and eggplant.
There you go. We'll take any advice we can get. Throw it on in the comments.
Although I do have a friend who's tried to explain to me how to cook eggplant, and it still doesn't make sense to me.
They maybe just need
Like,
to come walk you through it, like teach you in person how to do it.
yeah,
Practice it.
like
Yeah,
hold my hand.
that's right. Nothing wrong with
Yeah. So
It's kind of interesting because
yeah.
the article we found for today's episode is really all about food. Um,
Mm.
not the kind of food you're talking about, because the kind of food you're actually talking about is good food. This is crazy food that we used to have to eat in the 80s and 90s. And the thing that kind of made me think of this when I was getting this episode kind of prepared was right. My mother is 73. My aunt turned 81 or 82 this year. I can't remember. 82, I guess, or just turned 82 this last month. And like when we had the gathering for my aunt and uncle in whatever September, Easter of last year for their 60th wedding anniversary, the
Mhm.
the church ladies do what church ladies do, and they made a bunch of food, right? And so I had seen some dishes. That's a charitable way to describe these things. I had seen some conglomerations of edible whatever um, at this thing, this event, and that's what I was thinking of as I read this article. Was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't seen those kinds of I don't want to call them food, even though they're technically food, because they weren't particularly nutritious in any way, shape, or form, but they were, things we were sort of forced to eat back then. But I hadn't seen them since, probably the first couple years of college. And then suddenly here they were at this family event. And so when I was reading through some of these things, BuzzFeed has this really interesting article about they call them old school dishes that have mostly vanished, right? They had 49 of them. We're definitely not going to talk about 49 of them because we'll be here until, next week or something. But we picked 10 or 11 of them, I think. And we're just going to kind of talk through them and reminisce a little bit because I'm guessing if you're Gen X, you've experienced some of these atrocities. I mean, some of them are insane, right? So, any thoughts on this before we dive into the good stuff?
No, but I do remember going to whose funeral was it? And it was a family member and the church ladies,
Yeah.
and like ham salad was always so big. And did,
The
didn't like it
cookbooks.
then, didn't,
I bet you're
didn't ever like,
I bet if you go back to the town you grew up in and you go to the churches, especially the Lutheran churches, but or Protestant churches specifically, I bet you can find cookbooks in their church libraries, which, that may just be a shelf on a wall, but like they have probably got cookbooks that their church ladies put together every so many years and everybody put in recipes. I mean, my
oh,
mom has an
yeah.
entire cabinet full of them from like my grandmother's church and my aunt's church and all those places. And when you
Mhm.
look through some of those recipes, you're just like, how did people eat this stuff? But this is what some of these are.
And this is why I'm learning to cook quinoa and eggplant, because this is some of the crap I grew up
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The first one on this list is Jello salads. This type of thing took many different forms. The picture in the article made me gag a little. It was a green Jello, but like, I mean, you could put anything in it. You could put Cool Whip in it, and you could put canned fruit in it, right? Like all kinds of things would go into
Oh,
Jello salads. They were
but
Frankenstein type creations, like whatever you had, you
oh,
could do.
I had an aunt who would dump everything in the fridge into her Jello salad. So carrots,
Yep,
mixed vegetables,
right.
um,
Who in their right mind thinks carrots
nuts.
should go with Jello, like in Jello? Like it doesn't make sense, but that's what these were. These were, oh man, I don't know what to
They
call
were
them.
like, I think as we start going through the list, a lot of this is what I would call dumpster food,
Yeah,
where, and when you think about it, like, our grandparents grew up during the Great Depression. And then our parents, kind of grew up with that eating. But then when they started setting up house and stuff like in the 70s and early 80s, first of all, they were young marrieds starting out in life. So money's tight, but the economy was also, not fantastic at that time. And so I think a lot of these recipes just turned into like, how do you maximize what you have at home? Like, what can we call this? And then you can throw whatever shit you think
which is what an awful lot of these
fits.
things are,
Yeah.
right? This a lot of the things we chose out of this list of 49 are things that absolutely are catch-all, right? Dump it in and see what
Yeah.
happens. So, we had Jello salad at every church event. There was Jello salad at every
Yes.
family event. It didn't matter if it was a wedding or a funeral or a baptism or if it was just Christmas dinner, somebody made a Jello salad. And you know what? You just ate it because you didn't really think that much of it when you were a kid. It was like it was there and it was Jello and it jiggled. And so here we are.
Um, no, I drew the line. I saw meat in one.
That is a level of trauma that I did not experience. I never saw meat in the Jello, but it does not surprise me. So curious about anybody's experience with Jello salads if they had meat too. T's gonna need to take a second because she's having flashbacks. Okay.
I'm having flashbacks.
Yes.
It's all coming back to me now.
I know. So I'm gonna jump ahead to number three. We'll come back to number two in a second. But number three is I think, an iteration of Jello salads by itself. Not totally, but kind of. It was ambrosia salad. Do you remember getting like? Let's be clear. Salad is a weird word for these because there's no lettuce in any of this stuff, generally speaking. But
But but doesn't the salad part mean it's just a mixture of
probably,
different
yeah. Which
foods?
is why
Are you
dumpster
talking
creation makes more sense.
are you talking ambrosia salad now?
Yes, ambrosia salad now. So this was like,
Uh
if I remember right, this was Cool Whip. Sometimes cottage cheese was mixed in there. Mini marshmallows, the colored ones, right? The pastel like looking mini marshmallows and stuff. Nuts, canned fruit. Um, I always put maraschino cherries in it. They're really sweet. So super sweet. Um, and it was also always at every, right, like there was one lady in the church who was like that was the thing she always brought and nobody else dared bring it because they knew that was her thing. And I don't know why, but it was always gone by the end of whatever event it was. But it was,
that's because you put cooking sherry in it.
she might have. I mean, the amount of sugar, even though they didn't have to put sugar so much in it, but the amount of sugar, like this was a diabetes in a cup, right? Like this was just an intense
Right.
amount of sugar just blended into it. I don't know if anybody truly liked it or if everybody just took a little bit of it because we knew, you know, she put a lot of work into making it and we just didn't want her to take it home and think nobody liked her salads. Everybody took a little bit and it was gone, but this was everywhere all the time and it was not particularly tasty. Like,
Don't you think that's true though? I mean, for most potlucks, and I think a lot of
yes.
potlucks have gone away, which is fine. But having gone to more than my share of potlucks
Mhm.
growing up, it always was like, I mean, I remember like one rule was you take even just a little, like half a teaspoon of everything just to be
A light.
nice and
Hmm.
keep it even.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really remember. I remember seeing ambrosia salad all the time. I don't remember eating it because if I remember right, it's got like chopped walnuts, and I did not like walnuts.
Yep.
And I think I might have eaten it once because, colored marshmallows, young.
Yeah.
But probably when it was mixed with everything else, that's when I tapped out.
I think it also had like little mandarin oranges and stuff in it.
See, and I think that's where, yeah, and now like I'm curious as to like, was it called ambrosia salad? Like it had rather than just like a generic Jello salad because there were rules about what you actually could add into it to call it ambrosia.
Maybe
I mean, I feel like there were a few more
there
parameters
were.
because I do remember all of that. I don't remember the cottage cheese though. And had I known that there was any cottage cheese in it, I definitely would not have.
Might not been where you were. It may have just been our weird Southeast North Dakota iteration of that. Like they may have just dumped it in. That's just one of the things I remember being in it because you get that cottage cheese texture with all this stuff that would normally not be in, like you'd normally not mix, you don't put marshmallows in cottage cheese, but fruit you could, I guess. So it was just weird.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if anybody really liked it or if it was just one of those things, right? But Jello salads and ambrosia, I haven't seen these other than at that family event in decades. So these are okay if they go away. We don't need them.
No, no.
Number two is tuna noodle casserole with canned soup. I mean,
Oh
I
God.
can literally still taste it when I hear it because it was a
Yeah.
common. It was almost like every Friday we either during Lent we'd either have fish sticks or we'd have that tuna and whatever, and it was fast. It was easy. Mom was a teacher, right? So dad was working, so you'd get
Mhm.
home and you'd have an hour to get dinner ready, and then you'd have to go do something else, and like so it was easy stuff, and that was one of the things. And I didn't like tuna in the first place, so I could smell it on the other side, like way down in the basement, and I would just be thinking like, "Oh my God, this is what we have to eat." But yes, it was also something we got at school,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't know. You lived in the dorm, right? Initially,
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
something like this in the dining hall every so often. I mean, I don't have any idea if they use canned soup. I imagine they did because, like, who else has time for that? But this is also one of those things. Like, I haven't eaten this since I have been since high school. Like, I haven't seen it. I definitely did not eat it when I lived in the dorm because I was not touching that stuff. But yeah, tuna noodle casserole.
Yeah.
Just dump it in and go. So
Well, I mean, isn't that the definition of a casserole though?
pretty much.
And again, you just grab whatever and then you can call it whatever,
Yeah, pretty much.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Number four is chicken Kiev. So this one is interesting because like my brother actually liked to make this. So when it was his turn to cook each week, it was pretty commonly this is what we would get was chicken Kiev. It wasn't too bad.
Mm.
We also had it, I think, in school once in a while, and I think we had it in college, but I have not seen it since college. I haven't he's not made it, at least that I've seen. So it was this and um chicken Wellington. He'd make both of those. Those were his things. But
Oh, yeah.
the chicken Kiev we'd also see in the dining hall. We'd also see it at school on the menu. So it just isn't something I've seen in almost 25
I,
years.
I don't remember seeing it in school. Um, but I do remember there was like a period of what, probably 5, 6 years where it was, like I remember like going to like weddings and stuff like that. It was like one of the meal
Yes.
options. Um,
Too.
it was very big, like banquets and things
Mhm.
like that. But I'm like you, it's probably been a good, and you could get it frozen.
Yeah, you could.
Okay. Um,
back before
Yeah,
Costco
and
was a thing, it was Sam's Club, and I remember like my parents would pick it up in the frozen bags at Sam's Club.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember we kind of thought it was, it was a little fancy.
Yeah,
It was like fancy food.
yeah,
Yeah. But no, it all disappeared, didn't it?
it did. And that's
Yeah.
okay. I'm not sad. I don't miss it, but yeah. Number
I'm trying to
five.
remember what was in it.
I mean, it was just
What was
chicken.
in it?
Oh, it was chicken breaded. I think the chicken was breaded, and then in like inside the
Oh, that's
chicken
right.
breast, they put something. Was it spinach, bacon? I can't remember. They put something inside the chicken. Um,
Oh, I remember there was okay, and there was kind of a trend of doing that, of like opening like the chicken breast and like stuffing.
Stuff in it. Yeah.
Because I kind of remember even like there was another meat in there one time I saw.
Ham.
Okay, yeah, that was just kind of the trend. Ham, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like ham and cheese and shoved up in that
Yeah.
turkey
That's
breast.
right. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it was. Yay, I'm
yeah.
okay not eating that. It's fine. Okay, number five. I don't know if you had this experience, but liver and onions.
Oh God. Um, I refuse absolutely to eat that.
Yeah, me too.
Um, the sight of liver, smell of liver makes me want to gag.
Yep.
Liver and onions was one of my mom's favorite things.
Really?
Yeah. And her brother, my uncle, um, there was a place here in town that still served liver and onions, and he and mom would both order. And of course, then like they'd sit across from each other. So then you couldn't get away from the liver and the onions. And they would just talk about how wonderful it was. And the rest of us are sitting there trying not to gag.
Hmm.
It's like, and do you want your peaches and cottage cheese as well? And just, send me off to hurl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never ate
No, that
it. I'd never, I mean, I remember just because my grandmother was anemic and she knew if she made liver for herself, like on Saturdays, and she would talk about it every weekend. She'd have liver because she knew she felt better if she had liver. So she'd make it. I can still smell it, right? That liver and that
oh
onion
God.
smell.
Yeah.
But she never made us eat it.
Yeah.
I never tried it. I was not about to, but she made stuff for the
Oh, I
rest of us,
remember
but she made herself liver and onions every week.
I remember my mom had made us eat liver one time, and I think the three of us threw such an unholy gagging fit that she gave up after that time because it was like, why waste good meat? Yeah.
Yeah, go
why,
ahead.
why spend money on it and then feed you guys and then you refuse? Yeah, that's one. Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you.
This is a hard one for people to, I mean, I suppose it's disappeared in a lot of ways because people just don't want to make it. It's smelly. People aren't particularly into organ meat. But this is one of those things when I talk to people who are iron deficient, I'm like, if you can tolerate it, having a piece of liver once in a while is
No,
a good idea. And without fail, they're always like, no. If you're under the age of 60, the answer I always get is no. I'm not doing it. Don't
no.
care. Like,
Yeah, because you can get a lot of iron from like spinach, kale, those dark leafy greens, and then you take your iron pills, and then you take more iron pills,
yeah.
and then you just up it, and then you'll find out that fine little balance to where um how many iron pills you can take before it messes up your stomach.
Hmm.
For me, it was like 5 or 6. So,
Then no liver
and
and
then you
onions
can
for you.
weigh the pros and cons, anemia or eating liver.
Yeah, no, no. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't. I just got been. um, Okay, so we got through those. Number six, turkey tetrazzini. Do you remember this?
Oh, gross. Yes.
Yeah, it was something we had as a school lunch. My mom would make it sometimes.
Yeah.
It was mostly just noodles and turkey and breadcrumbs, and it was its own little casserole dish, right? Like that's basically what it was. I haven't seen it since undergrad. I think we also had this in the dining hall from time to time. But I've not seen anybody make it. I've not seen it in a restaurant. I just haven't seen it, and I'm okay with that. This is one of those things that should really have gone the way of the dodo, right? Like it needs to go away. We don't need, not tasty.
Not tasty.
It's just kind of a different iteration of the tuna noodle casserole. It's turkey and some other stuff in it, but it's the same. It's the same texture, kind of. It's
Well, and then
bland.
wasn't there also like chicken tetrazzini
Hmm.
as well?
There was,
Okay, that's it. Okay.
yeah, and I bet you could have easily
Yeah,
made tuna tetrazzini too if you really wanted to, right? Like you just switch out the meats and off we go.
I'm I'm sure I've experienced that as well.
Yeah. So this one's gone. We don't see this one much anymore. Number 7 is cream of wheat.
We did not have cream of wheat because we couldn't afford it. So
What did you have? Was there something similar? Malt-O-Meal?
yeah,
Yeah, we had
the
Malt-O-Meal.
generic Malt-O-Meal,
Yeah.
the generic Malt-O-Meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
was
it's pretty much the same thing,
it's
right?
basically the same thing. And it's not tasty.
Okay.
I mean, it's not good. Like just give me oatmeal. Oatmeal fine. This other stuff was bad, but this was also um I sort of remember I don't know why, but I remember going to the dining center and like on the weekend mornings and seeing the big vat of cream of wheat, thinking like
Well,
people didn't eat it very often, I don't think. I mean, it was always kind of full, so I don't know, but it was easy. It was something you could easily just
well,
make in your right on a hot plate or whatever. It was an easy breakfast if you needed it. And it was when you were a college student, it was cheap. Especially if you got the multi-meal or the generic stuff, it was easy to get, it was easy to
I
eat. Off you go.
yeah, I mean, by that time, I think I was eating more oatmeal. I think, the thing with Malt-O-Meal and probably with cream of wheat is it's a very slippery slope because it's not, is it semolina that it's made of?
I think
I can't
so.
think, or is it, but, but by the time you add, and I know when we did get Malt-O-Meal in, when I was a kid, by the time we added sugar and butter to it, mom's like, "This is not any healthier than crap cold cereal."
No.
Um, I do make my own kind of, hot cereal now but it's all, it's like 9 grain. I mean, I add chia seeds and hemp and other stuff to it, which is good because I always did like it. Um,
I didn't.
kept I e except I can't make it as sweet as I wanted to because diabetes.
That
But
happens.
it does stay pretty healthy, and I don't eat it all the time, but it's good.
Yeah.
Cream
Okay.
of wheat usually was runnier, wasn't it?
Yes.
Is that what I'm thinking? I'm thinking almost like that.
Yeah. It
Am
was
I
not
remember?
nearly as thick as oatmeal. It was soupier.
It seems to me that I remember seeing that either like in baby bottles with older babies as they started on solids or like at feeding to babies. Maybe I'm thinking
No,
the
it's entirely possible it was feeding. Yeah. I don't think you could suck it through a bottle,
wrong
but you
thing.
could definitely spoon it to somebody.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I wouldn't have liked uh cream of wheat if it was runny. And
Yep. Tilapia Joe's with Manwich.
oh, gross. And that's what I used to say even as a
Yes.
kid.
We used to think it was like we did not get Manwich hardly ever. Like my parents were not buying that brand name expensive can of sauce. My mom would make
No.
her own. She still does.
So
right? She'll dump in a thing of tomato sauce or whatever it is, a little bit of ketchup, some brown sugar, whatever the heck else it was, I don't remember. And she would just make her own sauce, and then that would be we didn't call them sloppy joes, we called them barbecues. Do not ask me why, I have no idea. It's probably just a southeastern North Dakota thing. I never knew anybody that called them sloppy joes until I got to college, but same thing. We did not get the Manwich. I remember when Manwich came out, but nobody bought it because budgets.
My my mom said you had to be a working man
What?
to get a manwich. My mom said you had to be a working man before I could get a manwich.
That
It's only
sounds
for men.
that sounds like something C would say, which is kind of funny. Love it. Okay, so we haven't had those in a long time. Like, I guess I
No.
will say that my mom still makes something similar. She does it for my nephew, but like when we're there to visit, she doesn't make this. Like, it's not
Where
something we eat, but every once in a while, my nephew will ask for he calls them sloppy joes. I don't know why. Um, but yeah, she'll do it every so often. So, but it's not something I've seen anywhere
what
else. And I haven't seen Manwich in
that
forever, so I'm not even sure if it's still a thing.
I don't know about that. But it is a good, like, kind of fast kids meal as far as like, they're getting uh some nutrients and you know but yeah, it's not something you eat as an adult
No,
generally.
I
No.
just Googled it while we're talking about it, and you can still get Manwich. Target has it. Most of the grocery stores have it. So apparently it's still a thing, but
Only if you're a working man.
yeah, I'm not. So it doesn't matter for me.
Eh,
So number 9. This one is absolutely the epitome of dumpster food. Goulash.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember us ever making it. Like, I don't remember my mother ever making it, but
Oh, no.
our neighbor who was this older Norwegian lady, if we were at her house, she would make it for us. Not that we asked for it, but like if she had
Um,
to feed, like if she were babysitting us or whatever. And it was funny because like you could ask her what's the recipe and she would just be like, whatever I got. That's the
yeah.
recipe. So it was noodles,
Well,
tomato sauce, a lot of times ground beef, and then literally any
mhm,
frozen or fresh vegetable she could find. So there was all times
yeah.
there was corn in it, peas, green beans, like carrots. They would just throw whatever they could in there, and it was just noodles and sauce and beef and stuff. And it was
Yeah.
always different stuff, or frequently would be different stuff. No two goulashes were the same, but it was just a common thing. And I haven't seen it in
You know,
20 years.
I up until recently I would make it.
Yep.
And again, it's the same. And like my mom's recipe, it was the same thing. You buy, and I think a lot of people made goulash, and I find stroganoff is kind of in the same kind of everybody's stroganoff is different,
Yes.
but it was a good way. I remember mom saying, like, it's a good way to stretch out either, a nice cut of meat
It,
or, for like the stroganoff or hamburger with the goulash.
yeah.
Um, and so like, yeah, when I would ask mom to write some of this stuff down, it it would be just like, um, like, okay, like two cups of pasta, and then however much hamburger you have, and enough tomato sauce to cover the pasta, and
Yeah. Because it was a
whatever
template.
else. Uh,
It
right,
was just a
right.
template. It was
But
like throw in these
uh,
couple things and then do what else you got.
and I think in actuality, there is because I still kind of cook that way myself,
Mhm.
as I've begun cooking. It is, like when I make my stew and I call it dumpster stew, I
Yeah.
have the basics that I know that are going to go in there.
Yeah.
And then There's always different, but too, like when you start working with spices and things like that, depending on how fresh the spice is and, yeah, if you have a cold, if you're in the mood for a little more garlic, it's hard to, there's a reason why they have that, season to taste
Mhm.
bit, which then makes me hesitate sharing my stew with anybody because it's like, tastes good to tea, but it might, it'll definitely kill some vampires. Um, but it might not taste good to somebody else. So
Mixed it, which is weird because there's nothing else on this list so far that I would say that I miss. But I think there was something comfort foodish about it, right? Like
yeah.
just having
Well,
that, even on a cold day, which we had a lot of, right? Like it was nice to have something like that, and you know, so,
yeah. Well, and the fact that like it was made for you. You didn't have to wait. And it seemed like, I mean, work wise, it's not a whole lot of work to make. So
no.
my mom used to make it quite often. But again, like that comfort, peace, it fills you up.
Hmm.
I mean, it's good. It's good eating.
Hmm.
Um,
Whereas not
so
not everything else on this list was good eating, but goulash you can
no,
make good
but
eating.
that, and if you didn't like it, then you could just add more to it. And then it was good eating.
Yeah, it's versatile.
Was that number 10? Or do we have
That was
one
number
more?
9. We have 3 more. We have
All right.
Waldorf salad, which
Gross.
strangely enough, my mom still does make this like when we go home to visit. So I get this every once in a while. It's what is it? Apples, raisins, walnuts, celery.
No,
It's not my
no.
favorite, but I do see this one more often. A lot of these other things, like I said, I haven't seen in a long time. Clearly not a favorite for you. Number 11 is Campbell's pork and beans and cut up hot dogs. So beans and weenies. These used to be things that were dumped into a crock pot and you just scoop them out with
Oh,
a
I'm
ladle.
aware.
Yeah.
Gross. No,
It's my brother's
no.
favorite thing as a kid.
I refused to eat that even as a child.
Yeah.
Gross.
I mean, I don't mind pork and beans once in a while, but I don't like hot dogs. So number 12 is stuffed cabbage. So basically it was chopped up like it was ground beef or ground sausage rolled up in a cabbage leaf, usually with some rice mixed into it, and then it was baked in a pan with some tomato sauce on it. We called them pigs in the blanket growing up. That was what my grandmother called them. They were horrific. We hated them. That taste of that baked cabbage is full.
No, never had it.
Good for
I
you.
don't think I've ever even been offered. Yeah.
You wouldn't want it.
Like we did not abuse our cabbage in that way.
Yeah. I mean, we were German, so this was not right. This was not surprising that we did this. But when I saw the picture of it in the article, I was just like, ugh. Like just I could smell it, and I got that sort
No.
of heavy feeling. So no, this is bad. Really, the only thing on this list that I do wish we could have again is goulash. The rest of it, if I never see it again, it will be too soon.
Yeah. And even the goulash, I just don't eat that way anymore.
Yeah, neither do.
So
Yeah, most of us don't. So
no,
yeah.
no.
That was our
So
trip down chaotic
uh,
culinary experiences of the 80s and 90s. Most Gen
what a
Xers will,
nauseating trip.
thank goodness we know better now and can do better now. Or at least we can try, even if the quinoa does not want to cooperate.
Well, I guess the moral of this story is, especially as we're heading into even harder economic times again, it's just because you can physically mix stuff together doesn't mean it should be mixed together. And I think that's the takeaway here. Yeah.
Yep. But remember when we were growing up, we were kind of in more challenging economic times. So maybe that's also part of the reason we ended up with some of these foods. We were also raised by
Which
people
is true.
whose parents raised them out of the Great Depression as well. So like that's
Right.
generations of right? Learning to stretch stuff as far as you possibly can to feed everybody.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, now that
All
we're
right.
hungry, I mean, anything else you want to throw in about the lovely food?
No, this was not as fun as the candy
The
episode.
candy episode was way more. You're right. Oh well, we tried.
Yeah,
Well,
we
there we go.
tried.
So everybody listening, throw some information in the comments. Tell us about some of the weird foods you remember from growing up. This is probably also, I would bet a lot of these foods are somewhat regionally dependent. So I'm kind of curious, like, hey, if you grew up
Yeah.
in Texas or you grew up in California or whatever, what kinds of strange foods did you have? And do you still have them? Do you miss them? Whatever, that kind of good fun stuff. Make sure to tell your friends to like and subscribe. We're still free, gonna stay free for a while. Um, you can pay us if you want. Like, we're not gonna say no, but at the end of the day, we're still
How
free.
are they going to? Okay, how are they going to pay us?
Oh no, I just figured I'd throw it out there. I mean, well, where there's a will, there's a way,
Like,
right?
you can pay us to shut up. How about that?
That would be fine.
We can start saying like you can pay us for our silence.
I would take it. That'd be great. So, all right.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. All
Well,
right.
then until next time, thank you again for joining us. We will see you or hear you or talk to you all again, and then next time for something else to complain about. Take anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take some antacid because even my stomach now has had a flashback.
Sorry.
So,
All right.
oh man, I got the indigestion.
Pepto. Get yourself some Pepto or some Milk-A-Mag.
No, I got some Tums, baby.
There, that'll work.
So,
All right.
all
Until next
right.
time, we'll see you all
Be
later.
good. Yeah, be good, everyone.